Welcome to the Wheel Question, brought to you by Jazzability Productions. Let's do this. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Wheel Question. And today, the Wheel Question is, who are DTD Charity and what do they do and how do they help? And to answer all these questions, I have a special guest on today, and her name is Joey from DTD Charity. Hi, Joey.
Hi, Jazz. Good to meet you.
How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, good to meet you too. So, shall we get on with this?
Indeed, let's do that.
Right, okay. First question. When was DTD Charity formed, or when did it begin?
Well, it began back in 2003 in a slightly different guise. Back in those days, a chap called Rob Young had a recruitment company, Select Financial Group, SF Group, and every year we would make a donation to a charity, which we'd decide on at the Christmas conference. And back in 2003, we decided to set up our own charity.
Okay. So
the charity is officially called the Tishy Young Foundation for the Disabled.
Right.
And the reason we're known as DTD Charity is most of the funding now comes from the employees at Dusk Till Dawn. When we initially set up, it was employees of SF Group.
Right.
But Rob now owns a company called Dusk Till Dawn, and we all put 1% of our salary into the charity. And so that's why we're known as a DTD Charity. But our official name is the Tishy Young Foundation for the Disabled, set up in 2003.
So DTD stands for Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, Dusk Till Dawn.
Right, okay, interesting. What inspired the founding of DTD Charity, and how does it address the unique needs of severely disabled individuals?
Well, the purpose is to help the severely disabled fund items that just aren't available through statutory means. The inspiration behind it, Rob has a severely disabled sister, and he is well aware that a lot of the equipment that she has is available to her because he and his parents were able to fund that for her.
Okay.
A lot of people can't get that kind of funding, and therefore we're here really to try and help predominantly individuals fund items that are going to make a big impact on their daily life that relates directly to the disability.
Oh, right, okay. Can you explain what type of equipment and support DTD Charity typically provide?
There's a huge variety, and we are able to consider all sorts of things that help individuals. It does need to relate directly to their disability. The main thing that we seem to do is wheelchairs. Wheelchairs these days, the ones that wheelchair services can provide through the NHS, often are not that well suited to the individual. And wheelchair services are aware of that, so they have their personal wheelchair budgets that they give to individuals, allowing people to go and then access a better wheelchair, a more suitable wheelchair. The gap in that funding is huge often, and we're able to help with that. So that's one of the key things. But other things that we help fund are attachments to wheelchairs, so power attachments when people have manual wheelchairs but struggle uphill or over rough terrain.
Yeah.
Happening more and more with the state of our pavements.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's something. But also walkers, beds, all sorts of a whole variety of things that we're able to help with. It just needs to relate directly to the disability.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I know the audience doesn't know this, but I'm going to tell them is that you have helped me in purchasing a brand new tired wheelchair, because the current one I've got is over 10 years old and on its way out. And you mentioned wheelchair services. I also applied to wheelchair services for assistance. And the chairs that we were kind of pointing me towards wasn't really as suitable. Obviously, because of my muscular dystrophy conditions over the years, my needs have changed quite a bit. And so what they did was then they provided what you call a wheelchair voucher, which I can then use to put that towards cost of a private wheelchair. And so Bromlikin from Loughborough, who I usually deal with, came up with a wheelchair and just an adaptation to help my needs. And you talk about £13,351. It sounds very, very ridiculous, but you can get a pretty decent second-hand car for that much. And it's just crazy how expensive these wheelchairs are. Obviously, these wheelchair providers, they know there's the market for them. And unfortunately, they're expensive. But thanks for your help, I'm able to purchase a new wheelchair, which I'm waiting for, hopefully, due delivery time due in middle of January, I think, 2025. So hopefully not too long to wait. Next question. How do you engage community or individual supporting your initiative?
Well, because of the way we're funded, because we are funded by the staff and management at Dusk Till Dawn, we're not a normal fundraising charity. Basically, all the staff, 1% comes out of their salary and goes to the charity. And then the management at Dusk Till Dawn put in the same amount. And that's how we're funded. We will sometimes have individuals that will add more from the staff point of view. And sometimes some of the members of Dusk Till Dawn, the club members, will make a donation as well. And that helps. But we're not a big fundraising charity.
Right, okay. There's like all individual trustees that put money into it to raise funds for wheelchairs and all the other stuff that you've mentioned.
It's all the employees that do it, yeah.
So, for example, if someone were to apply to your charity for a wheelchair or whatever, and then 6 months down the line, they need some sort of other, say, let's say a new bed, for example, a motorized bed that goes up and down. Could they reapply again? Or...
Yes. We do ask people to wait for 2 years, just so that we can help as many people as we can. But we do, and as we've been going sort of for 20 years, we are seeing that come back round. As you said yourself, your wheelchair is 10 years old and needed replacing. So we are seeing where people are coming to us with that sort of between 8 and 12 years on wheelchairs, where they are needing to be replaced.
Oh, good. How did DTD Charity determine eligibility for support and what criteria must applicants meet?
The big thing is the geographical area. We do cover, we have widened it a little bit, but we do try and cover the area that the staff live in, who actually make the donations. So predominantly we cover the East Midlands and the West Midlands regional, but we have added on a little bit. During COVID, we were very lucky during COVID because we don't fundraise in the standard way. We don't have fetes or fundraising activities. We just have the 1% from staff. All our staff were furloughed. We're in the leisure industry, but continue to pay the 1%. So we actually went nationwide during COVID because we were aware that it was so difficult for other charities. Since then, we've come back a little bit. So we're mainly the East Midlands and the West Midlands, but we're also covering at the moment South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, Oxfordshire and Gloucestershire. So it's still very sort of the middle of England that we're covering.
Is that likely to expand in the future? Or?
It's unlikely to expand. If anything, if we have a lot more applications, it will go back to being the East and the West Midlands.
Okay.
Bring it in, just so that we're helping, as I say, where the staff generally live. We're very, very small. But sorry, back to your question about the criteria. Then the main criteria is that the item that they're looking for relates directly to their disability. And isn't available from sort of statutory means.
Yeah. And so how do you then measure the success of your project?
Well, because we deal with individuals, we don't then because it's all individuals rather than a project. We've got a couple of things which I can tell you about, but we don't do that partly because all the information we gather with all the sort of the data protection and that we purely use for the decision in order to actually take an application through. At the end of that, we say, that's what your information was for. So we don't follow up with people on an individual basis because of the way that we do it. We've got a couple of, occasionally, we don't do a huge amount, but occasionally we do group things. So at the moment, we are just waiting for the delivery of some sports wheelchairs to the Nottinghamshire Lions wheelchair basketball team. So that will be something that we then will be looking, we will be looking forward to seeing how they do. But most of the things, because it's individuals, we make a grant and award, and that kind of comes to the end.
Right.
All our awards, we do pay suppliers directly. So everything we get an invoice from the supplier, and we pay the suppliers directly. We don't give them cash or.
Yeah, I think all charities do that.
A lot. Yeah, most do now.
Yeah, it's just to stop people from misusing the funds, etc. So that way, it's quite genuine that they need help.
And sometimes, something happens. So you've got X amount of money that you're saving up for your wheelchair. Something happens, the boiler goes, and you end up using that fund for the boiler. And that's why we don't. It's like, no, that money is ring-fenced for the wheelchair. And when you've got enough, we will pay the suppliers directly. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Next question. What challenges do DTD Charity face in terms of funding, etc.?
The main challenge that we have is getting letters of support from appropriate professionals.
Right.
So a classic example, and it isn't just wheelchairs, but an example of this is getting a letter of support from a physio or an OT to say, this is the right wheelchair for the person. It suits their needs. It's the most appropriate wheelchair out there. And we think, it's safe and appropriate for their needs. Without a relevant letter of support, we can't do anything. Our trustees are not qualified to know what is or isn't appropriate for an individual.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely the number one issue we have. The other thing that's slightly less of a challenge, more of a frustration, and you're in that category, is the weight that people are having.
Yeah.
Particularly since coming out of the EU. With the weight for things like wheelchairs has just increased so much.
Yeah, because these the companies that make or build the wheelchairs are often abroad in Europe, in USA, I guess. I'm not sure if there's a company in the UK that specifically builds electric wheelchairs.
I think all the parts come from Germany, or there's all. So it just is taking so long. So even when someone's got all the funding, the orders in, it's then taking months, and there's nothing any of us can do about that.
Yeah.
But most for us, the challenge is getting the physios and OTs. Just these days, it's not part of their role, and often they're involved with an individual just for one item, and they don't see an individual through history and through their time, and they don't see the progression of people's needs. And so it is really hard getting those letters of support. And without them, our trustees can't, with their hand on heart, make an award.
Yeah. I mean, I have a neuromuscular nurse on muscular dystrophy who is based local in where I live. And luckily, she obviously provided a lot of support. So I'm lucky in that sense. But for many, many years, I did have her on my side. And I was never in touch with any neuromuscular for a number of years. And until this, I don't know, about 3 years ago when COVID was here, and it was social services who were cutting my care hours. I had like 8 hours of leisure care, which they found and said, well, we have to take them away because we're all in lockdown. And so you're not doing anything leisurely. But long story cut short, that's when I got involved with muscular dystrophy, who helped me then do my social services and managed to get my leisure hours back. And then from there, I got a connection to my local neuromuscular nurse of East Midlands region. So it's quite important to have that support. And so when applying for equipment that I cannot afford, I guess every child will ask for an official somebody generally a professional to confirm this is my needs and this is the equipment that I need. So I totally understand that. And I would suggest that other physical disabled people out there make sure they have some sort of support, official genuine support from in a professional area like an OD or a neuromuscular nurse or something along those lines that can help support their application for charities. How do you raise awareness about your charities? How do you get your Dr. Dawn charity out there in the wider public?
That's the hard thing, to be fair, because we're not, we don't overly promote. We're quite a small charity, because it is company based. So it's a lot of it is word of mouth. So quite often we'll get, for an example, a muscular dystrophy nurse who comes across us, and then we will get repeat applications from that particular nurse because they know that's what we do. Or there might be an OT who we've got a strong relationship with. At the moment, we're building a relationship with the charity Aspire, which do a lot of spinal cord injuries. And so there's a lot of, they're coming to us with a lot of applications because they're not a huge grant awarding charity. They do a lot of information and point people in the right direction. They do make awards, but they're small amounts like us, so it all builds up, and between a few charities, people can then get a piece of equipment that they're after. But that is one of the things that is quite difficult, because part of the reason, again, we set up our own charity is because so many charities spend so much of their funding on administration costs.
Right.
And so we don't. I'm paid for by Dusk Till Dawn. I'm a Dusk Till Dawn member of staff. Nobody works for the charity. I have got some designated hours, so I have about 15 hours a week. I am the only person at Dusk Till Dawn that has dedicated time. The invoices are paid by the accountancy department, so they just work for Dusk Till Dawn. Any IT, keeping the website, doing stuff on the website, anything technical is done by the IT. Again, nobody works for Dusk Till Dawn in order for us to keep our, all the money, because we're funded by the staff. It would be wrong for other people to be paying my other staff to be paying my salary. So it is, the more we can get out, the more word of mouth, the better, because we don't go out and advertise. We don't make a big deal about what we do. It is a small charity, and we're just out there trying to do what we can to fill in some of those gaps that people have.
Well, hopefully this podcast episode will make some sort of difference.
Exactly.
And raise more awareness for your charity and all the help that it provides. So, interesting. I was just thinking, you said you had a number of trustees who basically put money in to help others and so on. So for example, if someone who is willing to join your list of trustees to, let's say, I don't know, I'm pretty rich and I want to join your trustees of your charities and to help others, how would one go about that?
So it's not so much that the trustees are that make the decisions on the applications. The employees pay 1% of their salary, or at least 1%. Some put in more. It is, if someone wanted to make a donation, we do have a donation page on our website. Or if people got in touch with me, they can do that. As I say, it is at the moment it's a minimal part of what we do, because we don't spend money going out trying to find. Lots of charities end up, some of their income goes to fundraising. It's just not the way we do it, because we don't fundraise in that way. But yeah, if someone wanted to make a donation, that would be absolutely great. Get in contact with me or our donation button on our website.
Yeah, does DTD Charity collaborate with other organizations or other charities or service providers? And how do you go about that? Is it like another way of word of mouth, or is there something more involved?
We would love to be more involved with some other charities, and I have reached out to a number. It's not easy, partly because the way a lot of charities work is they would like us to make a donation to them, and then they donate it on. They then make the awards or the grants, and that's not the way we do it. We're kind of like, no, when you can part donate, when you can part fund something, if they've met your criteria, the likelihood is they'll meet our criteria. Let's try and get together. And that's where Aspire have come in. And we're working, we're sort of developing that and trying to speed up that for applicants. But a lot of charities, that isn't something that they want to work, they like to work in their own little area. And so that is harder. And partly because we are Dusk Till Dawn, which is a casino.
Okay, interesting. Who thought of the name Dusk Till Dawn?
Oh, I think that was Rob, because because it's a casino, and they often, it's an evening events quite often. So I think that's where Dusk Till Dawn came from.
Dusk Till Dawn is also a name of a movie.
It is.
I don't know if you know. It's I think I'm not sure if it's directed by Tarantino. I can't remember. But it's a funny film. I think you may have seen it.
I haven't, no. But I know the film you mean. I know exactly the film you mean, yeah.
And there was also a series called Dusk Till Dawn on Netflix. I think it was Netflix, yeah. So, can you share any success stories that highlight the impact of DTD Charity?
It is difficult to do that because it's individuals, and without someone's permission to say.
Yeah.
So I think that what you said earlier on was absolutely brilliant, because that really does help, because, you can say your experience, but it's very, I can't pass on other people's.
Yeah, that's fine.
We do, people do send photos and they do send notes, which just from a time point of view, and just trying to get more applications through. I used to have more time to put them on our website, but we're having so many more applications that unfortunately that means that actually updating the website is harder. But what a great way for it to be harder.
Yeah, definitely. It shows at least you're helping a lot of people out there, and in this day and age, it's important, especially in this cost of living crisis we seem to be having continuously. One of the problems I've had over the years is my energy bills, because I'm on ventilation, I have to charge my electric chair overnight, and I've got like 2 ceiling track hoists that are on charge all the time until they're being used. Got electric doors on my flat and so on. Nebulizer, clock assist, and it just the energy bills just ridiculous. So this is why charity like DTD, Dusk Till Dawn, comes in and helps provide equipment that is much needed, like myself. So I think it's great work what you do, and it's a great way to help people. And so doctors that you helped me, and now I'm getting my wheelchair hoping in the middle of January 2025. How do you and how does your trustees feel about my success story? How, does it motivate you more, or does it, push the charity more into helping more people?
I think the more people we can help, the better. And that is one of the key things that we have. And that's why we also have a sort of a maximum. We have a maximum of £5,000 as a donation, because that way we can help more people. Sometimes, as you said, with your share, I think, was it about 13,000?
Yeah, 13,351.
And that's not that expensive compared to some of them, I have to say.
Okay.
So, Jazz, we've had wheelchairs that are £26,000.
Wow. I thought mine was expensive.
Yeah, exactly. And as the technology grows, what the wheelchairs can do and the freedom that they can give people, the independence that they can give people grows.
Yeah.
But correspondingly, they start costing more and more. So that is always an issue there. And that's why we have set a maximum on it, which can be frustrating for people when they've got a lot to collect. And that's why we'd love it if we had relationships with more charities that, they put in some, we put in some. And there are some charities out there that we often part fund with. Not because we've got a direct relationship, but because I think sometimes if someone says to their, gets funding from them, they suggest us, and we certainly say, look, you've met our criteria. If you haven't tried these people already, try these ones as well, because although there's nothing sort of official, but we often see the same names coming up.
Right, that's good. What future goals or initiatives are you have the charity excited about?
I think the big thing is the numbers that we can help, and the post-COVID. Obviously, everything went quiet for one bit during COVID when everybody initially couldn't work.
Yeah.
Then we could I could go back 20% during the furlough, and just keeping things ticking over for people.
Right.
Because we don't do a big, huge fundraise, it's not like we're saying, we've got this event coming up. It is doing the individuals. I'm quite excited about the developing relationship we've got with Aspire. And I'm really hoping that means that we can speed applications up for those people that they're very niche. It's spinal cord injuries. But if we can get that relationship working well, maybe we'll be able to develop that with another charity and then another charity.
Yeah, that's good. And hybrid DTD Charity into transparency and accountability for donors and supporters.
One of the key things is obviously we're part of the Charity Commission, so everything is audited annually. And this is why we pay suppliers directly. So absolutely, all the staff at DTD know that where the money is going towards specific items, and that it's not getting diverted somewhere along the lines by, say, an individual whose boiler's gone, and then that it does go to what we say it will go to. The trustees are very on it with the items that they are able to support, and we do updates with the staff, and just letting them know where, when people do send pictures, we pop those up in the staff room so that people are aware of where the money's gone, and lots of very happy faces.
Yeah. So, just to be clear, I guess you only help with equipment, and not like for example, if I'm in debt with my energy bills, due to the equipment I use, my energy bills are so high. So you don't really help with that?
No, it is specific items. So debts are something that we've got a number of things that we just won't look at. Debt is one of those. Bills are another
Yeah.
thing, housing costs, vehicle costs, because a lot of these things, you've kind of said it yourself that you get a wheelchair, but there are additional costs to that. If you've got a power wheelchair, you've got to power it up. But those are minimal compared to other things. So there's some items that we don't because of the ongoing costs. So occasionally we'll get things for vehicles or for driving lessons, and it's kind of, if you can't fund the driving lessons, you're going to struggle to fund the vehicle or the next stage. Hot tubs, it went through a phase of lots of applications for hot tubs. Therapeutically, they can be great for a lot of individuals, but they are so expensive to run that we had to say, we can't help you fund something that is just going to be such a huge drain. So that's one of those things that if it's something that's then going to have a lot of ongoing costs, we have to go, there are ongoing costs with power chairs. There's nothing that can be done about that. That's
that goes back to the individual responsibility of the applicant to make sure service is properly serviced and maintained. And that's not cheap either, but it's something that has to be done. So, is there any part of like when you giving money for charity or whatever, has there been any sort of frustration over the years about anything that affects your charity or the way you help people?
I think the biggest, one of the biggest frustrations is some of the data protection where when you're trying to get information because you're trying to help people and some of the professionals involved are kind of, well, we can't tell you that because of data protection. It's kind of, I understand that, but we also, the trustees, can't make decisions. They've got a due diligence to actually make sure the money, the funding that we do goes to appropriate items and appropriate people. So that can be a little bit frustrating. And the time sometimes things take. We do everything really by email now, partly because dusk till dawn, it's in the clues in the name. We do work strange hours. And
I suppose that's where the name came from.
Yeah.
Working overnight, dusk till dawn.
Yeah. So we do the strange hours. So that sometimes can be frustrating. So if you are having to speak to someone, I kind of need to diarise that. It's not, I'm not available to do that, as you might be at another charity that have sort of regular office hours. But that's the main, is sometimes getting the information that just helps the trustees make the decisions.
Is there anything you want to add now that we are approaching the end of this episode?
I think the key thing is that if people are looking to fund some specialist equipment, please have a look at our website. There is an initial application on there. It will do a scan of your email, of your postcode, just to see that you live within our area. And then it means that we can get back to you and see if it is something that we can help with.
No, that's great. And what I'll also do, when I've finished with this podcast and I've uploaded it, I will include a link to your DTD website so people can click on it and get all the information they need, as well as all the information they're listening to here. So I'm sure, well, hopefully, through this we will get many more applicants so that you can help them. So, and that part of why I do this podcast is to get information out there so people know how they can get help and what is involved and what isn't, and just hopefully that it helps others.
Yeah, that's
And,
brilliant, Jazz.
yeah, and I think, charity like yours is very important for digitally disabled people like myself. And I'm sure there are many out there in this day and age when everything is so expensive. They all need help with some sort of equipment that will enrich their daily life, like mine. So this is my opportunity to say a very big thank you to Jazzability or DTD Charity for helping me. I really appreciate it, and your help has gone a very long way in helping me get this new powered wheelchair, which I desperately need. So thank you very much.
No, thank you for coming to us. And fingers crossed, mid-January, you'll get your new wheels.
Yeah. I'm sure I'll take some pictures and send it to you guys so you can put it on social media, and hopefully that'll raise more awareness too.
That'd be great.
So Jerry, thank you very much. It's been great talking to you, and if I need any more help in a few years' time, I will come back. And but thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate your help and your time for the podcast. And hopefully through this podcast there'll be many more applicants.
That'd be great.
For your charity. Okay, Zoe, take care for now.
Thanks, Jazz. Thank you very much.
And I'll put you soon, maybe.
Indeed. Thanks, Jazz.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show and were able to take away something valuable. I want to remind you to follow me on our social media network to stay connected. On Facebook, you can find me at The Wheel Question. On Twitter, you can find me at Wheel Question. On Instagram, you can find me at The Wheel Question. You can also email me at thewheelquestion@gmail.com. Keep engaged with me online, as I would love to hear from you. And who knows, I may even reply. Your follows, likes and shares make all the difference and really help to build up this podcast and help it grow. So please spread the word. I would really appreciate it. Also, please subscribe to my podcast so that you'll be notified when a new episode is online to listen to and enjoy. Also, check back soon for more episodes. Until then, stay safe and thanks again for listening.